Right, if we are asked to find a complex polynomial and we are given the fact that there is a 0 at -1 and then there is a 0 at -I and there's also a 0 at -3 minus I. Here's the deal. All of these with the i's in them, the complex zeros, come in conjugate pairs. So if you have negative I as a 0, you also have I as a 0. And if you have -3 plus I, I'm sorry, if you have -3 minus I, you'd also have -3 plus I. Now if you're wondering why that is with the conjugates, if you think of the quadratic formula, okay, if you have under that square root something that comes out to be negative, that'll have an I in it, and then you have this plus or minus right there. That's why they come in conjugate pairs. All right, so going back over here now on this side, if you have a 0 at -1, that means you have a factor of x minus -1. Okay? If you have a 0 at -I, you have a factor of x minus -I. And because of the conjugate, you'd also have one at x minus a positive I. And then our last two, you'd have x minus -3 minus I. Whoops, running out of space a little bit. Bear with me. Times x minus -3 plus I. All right, that's a little squished. All right, so let's simplify this. This would just be x plus 1. This would be x plus I. That would be x minus I. And then this would be x plus 3 plus I, if you distribute that subtraction sign like it's a negative, and then x plus 3 minus I. Okay, now the bad news is we have to multiply all this out. So let's leave this x plus 1 for now. And then these two guys, are conjugates. So when we FOIL them, the inners and the outers are going to drop out because they'll have negative ix and positive ix, which will make 0 ix. So you're just going to have your first, which would be x squared. Inners and outers are gone, and your last would be minus I squared. Okay, using the similar logic, we're going to do a little trick over here. We're going to put parentheses. So we're going to treat our first as the whole quantity, x plus 3, and use the same kind of deal. So it would be x plus 3 squared minus I squared. It's kind of the same logic. Inners and outers will drop out. All right, so let's see what we get from that. Come over to the side for a second and just remember what I squared will be the square root of -1 squared. So your I squared is just going to be a -1. Okay, so this, the next step would be leave the x plus 1 still, and this would be x squared minus -1, which would be plus 1. Okay, and then the second part here, the last part here, would be x plus 3 squared plus 1. Now let's continue multiplying. All right, these two, if I FOIL them out, I will get x to the third plus x squared plus 1. Okay, and then this one will be, come off to the side, your x plus 3 squared would be x plus 3 times x plus 3 which is x squared plus 3x would be plus 6x, x plus 9. So you have x squared plus 6x plus 9 plus 1 would be plus 10. All right. And I would probably rewrite this in descending order. So this first polynomial will be x cubed plus x squared plus x plus 1 times x squared plus 6x plus 10. Now, every single term in the first polynomial has to be, let's erase this so we have a little space here, multiplied by everything in the second polynomial. So let's do this. X cubed times x squared will give me x to the 5th plus 6x to the 4th. That's a 4. Plus 10x to the 3rd. Plus x to the 4th. Okay. Plus 6x to the 3rd. Plus 10x squared. Let's keep going here. Let's use another color just for the sake of keeping things as straight as we possibly can, and I have to wrap around to the next line. That would be x to the 3rd plus 6x squared plus 10x, and then the 1 times everything, so then I'd have x squared plus 6x plus 10. And then now I have to take all the blues and all the greens and I have to combine them. So what do you say we write that in red, just for fun? So when you combine all of those, let's see, we have an x to the 5th. Okay, and I just cross stuff out as I do it. And then you have 6x to the 4th, and the plus 1 more makes 7x to the 4th, so plus 7x to the 4th. And then let's look at the x cubed. 10x cubed plus 6 more x cubed makes 16x cubed, plus 1 more makes plus 17x cubed. And then 10x squared plus 6x squared would be 17x squared. And then these two would make plus 16x, and then you have your plus 10. So that all that in red is your final answer. All that work just to come out with that. All right.